时间啊！
Coming to you from a basement studio somewhere down under, it's the 80s Show with Australia's Retro Man. On tonight's show, Retro Man takes a look at the 80s film career of Mr. Jackie Chan. Well, what are we waiting for? Lights, camera, Retro Man!
G'day movie lovers, music lovers, and all of you pop culture enthusiasts. Retro Man here with another episode of the 80s Show. Welcome guys, and guess what? Today it's all about Jackie Chan. You know the name, the fastest hands in the East. That's Jackie. And think of this video as a bit of a precursor to an upcoming video I will be doing on Jackie Chan's Armour of God Blu-ray. I will be unboxing that on the channel very soon. So I felt that I would just come here now and talk a little bit about Jackie's 1980s career. He's an exciting guy. He's a martial artist. He's an actor and a comedian all rolled into one. He's one part Bruce Lee, one part silent comedian Buster Keaton. He's all of these amazing things, and what he gives us in his films are death-defying stunts. That's what he really does, is put his life on the line for pure entertainment, and we love to see it. Jackie Chan is the maestro, if you will, of Hong Kong cinema. Now, in the 1970s, Chan was appearing in all sorts of martial arts films, looking for that breakthrough, and by about 1980 he had a bit of a breakthrough with a film called The Young Master. It was something special, actually, a mix of action and comedy, and if you've never seen it, I highly recommend you see that one, The Young Master from 1980. And after that, Chan was really trying to make his way into the American market, and he tried to get into those Cannonball Run films. Do you remember those with Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise? And he had a neat little role in those. He popped up, had a few fight scenes, and he was quite spectacular. And after that, he did a film called The Big Brawl, an American co-production, and I think that was directed by Robert Klaus, the guy who gave us Enter the Dragon, that classic Bruce Lee film. And The Big Brawl was an exciting mix of 1920s gangster style flavours with Jackie Chan's signature martial arts comedy. And it wasn't exactly a hit, but it left us with a plethora of fantastic fight scenes, and this is one of Jackie Chan's memorable early films, The Big Brawl, and I have it right here actually. That's it on Blu-ray. And after that, he did try to break into the hardcore action scene in America with a little film called The Protector, where he teamed up with Danny Aiello. It was a weird combo of sorts, and Chan was in gun mode actually. He put the fists and the kicks aside and he started using guns, and it was quite a violent R-rated film. And that wasn't the direction Chan wanted to go. America did not know what to do with this guy at that point. We all know later on in the late 90s and the millennium, he was quite the flavour of the month in America when he broke out across the world actually with the Rush Hour films with Chris Tucker. But back in the 80s, he was struggling to find that niche in America, and then he decided to do his own thing in Hong Kong. And one of those spectacular little films that he took a chance with was Police Story. And Police Story was when he really blew up in Asia and took him to that next level. It won a Best Picture award and so forth. And then, of course, there was Police Story 2 and other films. And this leads us right now into The Armour of God, or Armour of God it is sometimes known as. And this was Chan's attempt to get in on the Indiana Jones action and adventure market. You know how Harrison Ford starred in those hits, Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom in the early 80s. And then Chan came along with Armour of God trying to get into that niche. And he did so well with that film. It was the #1 film in 1987 in Hong Kong. And I'll tell you a little bit about how I stumbled onto Jackie Chan, if you will. It was in another film in the early 80s called Dragon Lord that he did. I happened to go into a video store one day and pick up a copy of Dragon Lord, which was one of his early 80s films. And of course I saw those Cannonball Run films. And I started to develop a bit of an interest in Jackie Chan. And then all of a sudden one night on late night telly, there was a report that said Jackie Chan is fighting for his life after a serious accident on the set of a movie called Armour of God. And what had happened is Chan attempted to, I think, jump across onto a tree and lost his footing and fell and sort of cracked his skull open, and it was a really frightening incident for Chan. And it was on late night TV, and they said that he was in hospital and it didn't look good, and they referred to him at the time as the new Bruce Lee. And I saw that clip and I felt, well, geez, I hope he's okay, and I really want to see that movie. So if we fast forward a year or two, all of a sudden I decide one day to go down to a local shop. And as it turns out, in the 80s, there was your big video stores, and then there was these little sort of corner stores, if you want to call them little mini supermarkets, if you will, right across Australia. And they tried to cash in on the video market as well. And I went to this little corner store to pick up a carton of milk, and they had a little video section to the side there. And I was taking a bit of a look through, and I happened to spot Armour of God. And I went, wow, that's that Jackie Chan film where he injured himself, and it's an Indiana Jones style picture. I've got to see this. So I wasn't a member of this little store. So I went back home, grabbed Dad, and we came back down to the store, and we hired Armour of God. And I tell you what, it blew my mind. It's a great little film, and it's one where it mixes those elements of action and comedy so well. And there's a spectacular beginning, of course. That's where Chan injured himself. And later on, he has this fight with these women in leather outfits. And it's an amazing sequence. I'm sure if you're a bit of a Chan aficionado, you remember that fight sequence. And it's a film with a lot of explosions, a lot of adventure, and a lot of stunts. It's pure signature Jackie Chan. And Armour of God, I'm excited to say, has just recently come out on Blu-ray by a company called 88 Films in the UK. And very soon I will be doing an unboxing on Armour of God. And I have this one on DVD here from Hong Kong Legends. They were a bit of a series on DVD that came out in the millennium, and I was collecting those, and that was my initial upgrade on Armour of God. And now I'm excited to check out this new Blu-ray. So that's a bit of a backstory on Jackie Chan's Armour of God and how he tried to make it in America during the 80s, and a little bit of a peek, a bit of a window into where Jackie Chan came into his own as a performer. The 80s were very fertile years for Chan, and Armour of God is a spectacular film, and I will be back to talk about it with this new Blu-ray release. So in the meantime, guys, thanks for watching the channel. Actually, why not drop a few comments below about Jackie Chan and his movies? And remember, like, comment and subscribe, and keep watching the 80s show, as I will return with lots more, including more Chan. So that's it for today, guys. This is Retro Man, living the dream 80s style. Stay gold.
Thanks for watching. Retro Man will return faster than a boomerang and with greater skill than Mr. Jackie Chan. Now that's impressive. Please subscribe, and good night, viewers.